Everyone, this is Teresa here with the A-Team in Transformation. So we talk all things about law of attraction and personal development. And I know it's been a while since I've actually filmed a video, and I'm super excited to be back. I have so much content that I want to share with you, and I'm really excited. So make sure and stay tuned. This video is all about if you have the pattern of attracting people in your life, whether it's intimate relationships or friendships, that the person just isn't emotionally available, right? And this is a term that we hear so much and so often, and there's so many videos on this, but I have worked with a lot of clients in the past couple of years, and so I wanted to give my 2 cents and my personal take on this pattern with people. So if you are a person that you really want to change this pattern and you want to meet people that are looking for a relationship, so make sure and watch this. So I have my notes here. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and everyone has different degrees of self-awareness, right? What's happening a lot of times is people don't realize when they are consistently meeting people that are emotionally unavailable is that they themselves are emotionally unavailable. And I know this can be surprising for a lot of people because they'll say, oh, I do want a relationship and I really do want to meet someone. But if this is a pattern for you, just make sure and listen to the entire video because I'm going to explain this to you in its entirety. At the root of someone that is having this pattern, and you are consistently meeting people that have this pattern, is the fear of disapproval. The fear of disapproval. We all want to be approved of and liked and have a feeling of belonging. But if this is a really severe fear for you, then you are going to actually isolate yourself because you are afraid that you will be isolated, ironically enough. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that's going on. So when people have the fear of rejection, it's the fear of disapproval, which if you're met with disapproval, the consequence or the belief of that is you will be isolated. So there's that sense of separation that they so strongly fear. It's all about not being able to or having a very difficult time being vulnerable, or the fear of intimacy, right? And all vulnerability is really letting your whole self be seen by another person, really coming from a place of honesty. And so it's all of you showing up, right? And so what happens is people, what they'll do is they'll speed up the inevitable because they're afraid if they completely are seen, then they'll be met with disapproval, and then that disapproval will lead to isolation, is basically the pattern that's going on. And so there's different ways that people externalize this fear of being intimate. And so, some people, it could look like being hot and cold. Another person can externalize it as always looking for red flags, always looking for deal breakers. And this is something that's really common for a lot of people, where they think that there's not opportunities, but there's always opportunities around us, right? Anytime we go out of the house, really, there's opportunities to meet people. But they're always looking for a way to not move it forward, to not move the relationship forward. So when they go on a date, they're always looking for something wrong, right? They're always looking for red flags. They're always looking for deal breakers. And it's something that's, most of the time not a conscious thing. And it's one of those things that in your mind is very valid to you. It seems like a very valid concern. But really what your mind is doing is it's looking for a way out. It's looking for a way to not move forward. Another way that it externalizes itself is being attracted to people that are unavailable, right? Being attracted to people that are unavailable. So I have a lot of clients, and I'll tell them, that there's people around you that are available, but what happens is they'll say, oh, I just don't have chemistry with the person, or, there's just not the butterflies. Like, I just don't have the chemistry. Like, I just don't feel it. And because what their mind is actually doing, what their nervous system is actually doing is saying, okay, there's an opportunity here, right? This person's available. Here's a person that's unavailable. Great. There's no opportunity here to begin with, right? And so they are attracted to people that are unavailable because they don't require them to go deep or be vulnerable, right? And so that would be the payoff or the benefit or the illusion of safety. The illusion of safety is to be attracted to people that are unavailable. And so a lot of people will say, well, he did this or she did this, or this is their pattern, right? And so you may not have the same pattern of externalizing it, but it still is under the umbrella of being unavailable, right? It's still under the umbrella of being available. So one person can consistently be going for people where there's no opportunity to begin with. Another person is always looking for red flags, right? So the way it externalizes itself is different, but it still falls under the, not being completely on board with the idea yet of being in a relationship, right? So that's really what it's all about, is you keep meeting people that have mixed feelings on succeeding in this area because you yourself you're not completely on board with the idea yet of being in a relationship yourself. So it's it looks like someone saying, yes, no, maybe, kinda, no, I don't think so, yes. So it's this kind of mixed energy of succeeding. So what's really going on is all of you is not on board yet with the idea of being in a relationship. So there's aspects of you that want to be in a relationship, and there's aspects of you that do not want to be in a relationship. And so if all of you isn't on board with it, then it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed and be fulfilled in this area, and of course attract people that are ready, because you're going to be attracting the people that are at your same level of readiness, right? So if you, for example, from a 1 to 10, so 10 is you're really ready to be in a relationship, all of you is on board with it, there's no inner conflicts about it whatsoever, and you're at a 10, right? So you're not going to be attracting or meeting people that are at a 4 or a 5. Or if you're at a 5, you're not going to be meeting people that are super ready to, or if you're a 5, you're not going to be meeting people that are super ready to be in a relationship. You're always going to be meeting people that are at your same level of readiness. And that's what people don't understand, right? You're always going to be attracting people at your same level of readiness. And inner conflicts is basically when you want something, but so I want to be in a relationship, but I'm afraid I'll lose my independence, or I want to be in a relationship, but I don't know if I'm going to have time for my other activities in my life or my business. I want to be in a relationship, but so your mind looks at this area in your life as a win-lose, right? So it's associating, as Tony Robbins would say, you're associating more pain than pleasure in this area. And so when you associate pain with a specific area, it's very difficult for you to take action. It's very difficult for you to be consistent. When you associate more pleasure with something, then it's very easy to take action. It requires no willpower, no discipline, because you associate more pleasure with it. So that's specifically what's going on, is not all of you is on board with it. And so what's interesting about this area is that a lot of people, for example, if they want to change their finances, or if they want their career to be different, or any other area, this is an area, the relationship area is an area where people take the least responsibility. So this is an area where I believe that people really have the most pain in this area, because it's the area that people take the least responsibility. So for example, if someone, is talking about money, right? So they'll say, oh, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to go back to school, or I'm going to get another job. Taking responsibility, right? If they want to lose weight or become more fit, they talk about, I'm going to, drink more water, I'm going to eat healthier, I'm going to go to the gym, again, taking responsibility. But I notice in this area, people don't view this area the same. And I believe personally it's because that there's someone up close and personal to point the finger at, right? So, very more difficult to point the finger at other people in different areas, but it's so much easier to point the finger at someone else in this specific area because someone else is so up close and personal, and they don't look at this area as a mirror. They look at the other areas in that way, but not this area. And so if you really take responsibility and if you say, okay, what is my part in this and what role am I playing in this and how am I inviting these types of people in my life and what's the payoff or what's the benefit I'm getting from being with this person or dating these types of people, because there is a payoff or benefit. It doesn't matter if how much you're complaining about something. If you consistently keep taking the same action, you are getting a payoff or a benefit from it, whether it's something tangible or intangible. So what else did I want to say about this area? And so another thing I want to talk about too is, no one is born with the fear of intimacy. You're not born with being afraid of being intimate or being honest or being vulnerable. You're not born with, being afraid of, or having self-worth issues, or not loving yourself. That's all based on conditioning, right? And so how we condition children is through shame, right? How we condition children is basically that their emotions or their feelings are invalidated. It's when the child cries or the child is jealous of their sibling or the child gets angry. It's met with invalidation, that their emotions, that their feelings are wrong or bad. And so we learn that intimacy and sharing ourselves isn't safe, that it's not okay to be vulnerable because we were met with disapproval, we were met with shame. And so it would make sense why someone would be afraid of vulnerability when that's what we were met with, right? Making sure I'm not missing anything important that I want to tell you. Something else I wanted to say is that a lot of my clients too will say, I've heard this before, they'll say, maybe, I just need to go to I need to move to another city, or I need to move to another state, or I need to try another, dating service or online service, for example. And it's all fine and dandy if you have the inspiration to take action, right? But here's the thing, if you don't deal with the inner conflicts, if you don't deal with the part of you that's opposing what you want, then it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter where you go. They'll just find you. It's amazing. So if you are unavailable yourself, it doesn't matter what state you go to or city you go to or dating service or matchmaking service you go to, they will find you. They will keep finding you, right? It doesn't matter. So it's really an inside job. It really is. And if you take this area of your life and look at it as a mirror and look at it as a way to really check in with yourself and take responsibility. Again, you're not responsible for your conditioning, but you're responsible for changing the pattern and changing the associations. And I know that it's not easy, but that's what I wanted to share with you. Okay, so here's the two ways to go about really changing this pattern. So the first one is you want to write a list of all the things about yourself that you disapprove of, right? So all the things that you would like to change, all the things that you think of that aren't okay, right? And then what you want to do is you want to find approval for it. You want to find approval for it. And when you really sit down and brainstorm, you really can find ways where it could be a positive, where it actually could be of value to you, whether it's value to you now or value to you in the future, or how you can maybe teach people or help people as well. So and you can brainstorm, you can, I mean, there's so many. It's funny because when I was doing this with myself, I went on Google, and it was really interesting because it gave me a new kind of perspective of the things that I necessarily didn't have approval for. And I was like, wow, this actually could be a good thing, you know? And I don't care what it is. I mean, you can find approval for anything. You really, really can. I mean, if someone says, oh, how can I find approval for being poor? You know, like, how can I find approval for being poor, for example? You know, because a lot of people may say that, right? How's that good? Well, you learn to be really resourceful, right? You learn to be really, really resourceful. If you have a new project, you don't have as much to lose, right? You know, so you can really find approval for anything. That's what I really want to make sure that you understand. And so that's the first way. The second way is you want to be sitting with your emotions, right? So going back to the fear of disapproval, which leads to the feeling of isolation or the fear of being isolated. You want to be sitting with the fear, the fear of isolation, the fear of aloneness, because that's what you're trying to actually avoid. So it's not necessarily the situation, it's the feeling that comes along with the situation. So some people, again, can associate a lot of pleasure with a relationship. Some people can associate a lot of pain with a relationship. And so you want to be sitting with the emotion that comes up when you think about being in a relationship, which is the fear of aloneness, the fear of isolation. So you want to be really sitting with that. And that basically looks like you closing your eyes and, you know, you conjuring up the feeling of isolation. And you could think about being in a relationship to conjure up that feeling and just really sitting with it and just welcoming it, and notice the sensations. And really what you want to do is you want to be naming the sensations that are going on in your body. So I feel tingling, you know, in my left arm, or I feel butterflies in my stomach, you know, my chest feels heavy. You want to really be naming the sensation so that you're working with the nervous system here. So, you know, we could talk about, you know, this fear all day long, but unless you're actually working with the nervous system and working with the emotions, then it's very hard to get anywhere with this. So what you want to do is find approval for the things that you disapprove of yourself, and that's internal and external. And then you also want to be sitting with the feeling, sitting with the emotion. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I didn't forget anything. But yes, okay, fantastic. Okay, great. So thanks for tuning in, and make sure to subscribe, like. If you have a comment, please share it. If you maybe even had this pattern, you know, how did you move forward? How did you transform this area of your life? Share this video if you feel inspired. I also have a Patreon community as well, so if you want to keep in contact with me more, there's other rewards and perks being a patron, so feel free to check that out. And yeah, I will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.